Welcome to Wealthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real-life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. Hello, everyone. This is another fantastic wealthy episode with Aaron Fitzgerald, all the way from Houston. Aaron, so happy to have you here in the podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Alicia. It's quite a privilege and an honor to chat with you again and to connect with your audience.
Great. So let's just start with how did you get here? How did you get to do whatever it is that you're doing? Were you born like that, or what happened?
No, I a lot of learned experiences and struggle that I've been able to overcome. So again, Aaron Fitzgerald here. I am currently based in Houston, Texas. And I think a big part of me is that I've lived all over the US. As a child, I experienced extreme poverty, and that instability led to stints of homelessness, fragmented grade school education. And throughout really all of it, I was just very lucky. Lucky to have a family and an environment where falling behind was never an option. So I had to learn how to do things like teach myself. Uh,
Mm.
so because of that, I ended up graduating high school at 16. I enrolled in college at Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. Originally, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, but as a kid, we moved around. We lived in places from DC to New York to Ohio. Ended up graduating high school in Ohio. So at Rhodes, it was quite a different experience for me. Probably not shocking to hear, but when you have a fragmented grade school education, going to a liberal arts preparatory college was not quite prepared.
Well,
Uh,
wait. Just don't make a fun story short.
okay.
What was, yeah, I mean, this is the juicy part. Not everybody has had your life, okay? So what were the things that surprised you about that sort of big shift? Because I've never been to a liberal education. And yeah, so yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a cultural difference for one. So my first week, I met kids who were driving cars that had more value than I think all the homes that I had lived in combined over my years, right? Kids who had used language like post-secondary education. So, they'd gone to Exeter after high school to be better prepared for college. These are opportunities and kind of pathways that I didn't know existed. So it was a lot of rapid exposure, and an environment where that was just very normal for folks. So I had to play a lot of catch up. I had to learn effectively a new language and a way of communicating with people. But I was successful there. My freshman year of college, I really embarked on my volunteering passion, and I went on an alternate spring break trip to help with the Hurricane Katrina rebuild effort. This was 2 years later, and that gave me a firsthand view of what climate impact and change looked like. And then throughout my college time, I had a great time, but I also worked to make change and do good. So I was elected student body president, and student trustee. So I sat on the college's board of trustees. That was great. I also had the fortune of getting an internship with the senior senator of Tennessee, Lamar Alexander, and that sparked my political bug. And after college, I took that political bug, and I had the privilege of working for the great state of Tennessee in the U.S. Capitol for Senator Bob Corker. It was after then, though. I was there for a couple of years. Learned a lot. You learn strategic communication. They call it Capitol Hill Training School for a reason. But it is, for me, it was not my change agent, Alicia. Right. I think you learn that, it was good for me to learn that early on. So I could drive my career to go pursue what I was really passionate about, which was entrepreneurship. And I think that brings me to the other point for me, which is really knowing thyself.
Mhm.
As a business person, when I was getting started in entrepreneurship, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I want to focus on selling to consumers, to businesses, to government? And I found that where I fit really well, where I thrive and shine, is in one-to-one environments. So early on in my entrepreneur experience, I focused on business to business enterprise solutions that really started to draw my attention. Those problem scopes seemed really fascinating for me. So I started two companies back to back, two software businesses with the focus on higher ed institutions initially, and then hospitality. While they didn't work out, I learned a lot. Everything from how to organize a complex sales process, pilots, partnerships, team building, storytelling, talking to investors. All of these experiences were ones I didn't grow up with. They were ones that I had to learn on the fly. But I was able to gain core competency, shut those companies down. They didn't work out. And frankly, my personal life caught up to me after that. After 4 years of just, not really looking up, trying to move your company forward, you have to focus on yourself too. And it was during that time that I took a life-changing trip to Lake Tahoe. I underwent what I call for myself like my very first full transformation that wasn't just things put on to me, but ones that I underwent to internally. And it was the first time where I recognized that I was no longer in poverty, that I had escaped really the worst trapping,
Wow.
what that
I
means.
get goosebumps. I remember when I made that choice, by the way.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
hard.
wow, that's amazing. Keep going. It's just I got goosebumps. Yeah.
So, and for me, I don't know what that definition meant for you, but for me, it was escaping the trappings of poverty meant I had opportunities in front of me and good opportunities, ones that would not keep me in that position. So, shortly after, I was able to, for the first time in my life, change what was driving my career, which before that was just profit. Now, I want to be very clear as a business person, my business is all about profit, but what is driving my why, which was profit then, switched and it became purpose. Like, what is my purpose and what do I want to do? And that's how I moved into carbon removal. Just to kind of go a bit more deep into that journey of mine, because I did study international business in college. So you're like, how are you building a chemicals company, right? I think that's what most people ask. Well, I had my journey into climate is really what put me here. So I had this incredible opportunity, Alicia, to join this growing startup based in Mountain View. Actually, I was living in California at the time. The company was called then Kairos Aerospace. They've since changed their name to Insight M. And the founders had created this remote sensing instrument that we would attach to low-flying aircrafts. And we could detect large methane gas leaks over oil and gas fields and landfills. And we detected so much methane.
Wow.
And like it's something to be said if me talking about it, but when you can physically see it, right? This like sight unseen, you're just like, whoa, right? This is scary. And then you think about the market implications for it, right? Like this is material, that material, that gas is used to make materials that we use daily. And my brain just started to think. I was always been focused on market-based solutions to climate change, particularly Kairos gave me that in. And I started to wonder, how can we keep our modern life and maintain our quality of life? Because those are two very important aspects of it. And that question has been driving my entrepreneurship since then. And really this support network that has enabled me to move forward. So in 2019, just fast forward, I started Mars Materials, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. But outside of Mars Materials itself, I have just grown as a person. I've been fortunate enough to gain that technical expertise that I've just really wanted since college. So I became an expert in carbon removal. I got a fellowship with a group called Carbon 180, which is a DC-based think tank focused on creating the carbon economy. I was charged with identifying technologies and business models that could help me turn Mars into a company that could abate 1 billion tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. And this group put me in front of the top researchers and policymakers and business folks in the carbon removal space, and they all gave me the time and the resources to become an expert. From there, I've also been trained up with other fellowships, programs like Lab Start, which connected us to the IP that we've licensed from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, our nation's only applied national lab. I've also had fellowships with the likes of Prime Coalition, who helped sharpen my financial acumen and gave me an understanding of finance, not from a scarcity perspective, but from an abundance perspective, which was new for me. Coming from poverty, that's not something you think about. Money as just being something that exists and can be used as a tool. And then other programs like Breakthrough, who have helped me navigate the Valley of Death, which is really hard when it comes to technology development. And then recently and currently, I'm part of a program called the Lewis Latimer Fellowship, which is part of the Edison Awards. And this program is meant to celebrate really traditionally underlooked, what they call geniuses. I don't personally feel comfortable saying that, but that's what they call it. And my fellow,
Wait, everybody. If you want an autograph, you need to talk to me first. I get the first one. We need to get you young before you become, a super known genius. So when you're undercover here or whatever, under discovered, we need to get you at that stage. So yeah, congratulations. Wow.
say that. Yeah. So my whole painting for that, we call it, they call ourselves the Great Eight. And my focus is the future of sustainability. And it feels such an honor to have that dub and that superlative. And I'm working to really actualize what that means.
Wow, what a great story. So I don't know which question to ask because I usually have a follow-up question to that one. Um, but before we get into that, I want you to tell us what is Mars Materials? What do you do there?
Yes. So I love talking about Mars. I can talk about it all day, but just to be short, so we're called Mars Materials. We are based in Houston, Texas. Today, we are a team of five, really doing the impossible and making that possible. We have expertise as a team in chemical processing scale up and commercialization and operations. And we combine all of that with a little bit of whimsy. So we call ourselves Planeteers to turn everyday products into carbon sinks. So think if you are using fossil fuels today, you're extracting carbon from geological sites, and there's emissions associated with that. We're able to take captured CO2 from the air and convert that into essential chemical building blocks. As a company, we have just made some tremendous progress in a short period of time, really with the power of a strong idea and execution. We've been backed and the honor of being backed by supporters like Bill Gates in the Breakthrough Energy Fellows Program, Shell, Black& Veatch, Columbia University, Caltech, and others. So a little bit about what we do.
Wait. Are you going to the Gates Foundation Goalkeepers Conference?
I'm not familiar with that one. So the Gates Foundation, I do believe, supports some of the efforts for breakthrough energy. There's some overlap with the teams, but they are kind of separate entities in and of themselves. But I would love to, and if you're there, it would be a great opportunity to finally meet you in person too.
Oh, I will be there, but I don't know how to get people invited. I got invited, but I don't know how to get people invited. But I'll ask once I'm there. It's in New York City. It's in
Oh,
2 weeks. Yeah.
is that during Climate Week
Yep.
or? Oh, awesome. I will be in New York for Climate Week. So if there's an opportunity, that'd be cool.
Yeah, sure. And Karen is there as well.
Yes, that's how we met through a post. You mentioned Karen, and she's an investor of ours, and I was like, oh my God, someone knows Karen. I have to connect, and who knew that it would lead to this lovely conversation.
Oh, and Karen is in our podcast as well.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm already a fan of the podcast, being here, so I'm gonna have to listen and hear what she has to say because I find that whenever I speak with Karen, I just feel so optimistic about the future and how capitalism can be used as a tool for good.
Well, our tagline is money as a tool for progress, not oppression. So, because I grew up in Venezuela, where there was a lot of issues with capitalism. My
Yeah.
parents are socialists. I grew up socialist. So I actually think that socialism and capitalism are two sides of the same coin. That's why they don't look at each other. But we need both to progress. But that is me being a guest on my podcast, not being the host. So that back to you, back to Mars material.
To that point, there's a lot of change, I think, happening in the US right now that's really showing that those lines are blurred. So I'm hopeful that we're able to maybe get past some of those conversations so we can actually start harnessing
together.
Yeah. And to that effect, what we're doing at Mars is part of that. How do we overcome, centuries-long incumbent barriers in an industry that's really designed to make products as cheap as you can without any environmental concern? So with that, we make the essential chemical building block in a ballooning $14 billion market. I'm going to say the name now, but really don't hold on to it. It's called acrylonitrile. You can try to say it 10 times fast if you like, but I just call it an essential chemical building block. And here's why. It's responsible for products all around us. So over the last decades, if you think about the American living room, for example, or even your home country, the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, and the home has all gone from heavy wood or metal encased products to lightweight, durable, sleek products, right? Our chemical is very likely the one that's been responsible for that. It's used in resilient and advanced materials, and everything from textiles to durable materials to infrastructure applications. And the end products that it makes are things from carbon fiber. So I can kind of show that here, if you can see it.
Okay.
Carbon fiber can be used in boats, defense applications, energy applications. Bill Gates talked about using it in pickleball, for example, to products like Legos, toupees, and diapers. This is what our chemical makes as well. And then on the infrastructure side, it's used to help with grid modernization and near and dear to me, freshwater usage. To just kind of close that out, most chemicals, the incumbent is made from fossil-derived products, and that's no different from our market today. In the US, particularly, the market was started here in the US, but it's moved now to China, where the starting feedstock goes from crude oil to coal. So if you just bought a car in the last couple of years, it's very likely that the carbon embodiment has been increased by a factor of 3. So not only are we now more dependent on fossil fuels for this essential chemical, the technology itself has some challenges. The products itself has some challenges. There are geopolitical issues associated with it. And all these risks are really driving home a need for these global buyers of this acrylonitrile to find new pathways. And that's where we see opportunity, and that's what we're scaling up towards.
And I have so many questions now because I like chemistry. And so your customers are the industries or the manufacturers that embed that product into their manufacturing process. Is that correct?
Yes.
So who is your ideal client?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'll answer it in this way. We've been working to corner an $11 billion beachhead market where it's pretty consolidated. So there are 3 global players. They represent about 80 to 88% of the commercial market. And last month, in August of 2025, we shared the news that we actually overcame our particular product, several decades long industry incumbent barrier, like product barrier. So we worked with the global, really undisputed leader in this $11 billion market, a company called SNF. They're based in France, but they have global operations everywhere, including in the US. And they use our product as their sole feedstock. So imagine being completely single source to one particular pathway. So what we were able to demonstrate is that our impurity advantage product on its first shot bucked really a 3-decade-long trend where it demonstrated that our performance was equal to the incumbent fossil-derived product. And SNF was able to create all 1,500 plus of their products using our material. And just to give you some insights into what that looks like, so they make these things called, we call them high performance polymers, but they're used in applications like flocculants or in surfactants or as thickening agents. So to back up from the tech piece, at the end of the day, what that means is that their products are meant to help solve the water crisis. And what that means is we are able to use with these products less fresh water for infrastructure applications, and to help improve freshwater recovery. So taking a step back, think these products will help purify wastewater to make it more drinkable. These products help to reduce water usage in mining, which is growing. And then more local, I used to live in California. I know you're based in California. We think about the wildfires that we have. That requires a lot of water to help containment. These polymers are also used to help reduce the amount of water to help contain things like wildfires. And until Mars, there was not an commercially viable alternate that could derive these from non-fossil fuel pathways. So we now exist. This market can become completely carbon negative. And we've unlocked this really exceptional opportunity. And it's also showing that there is a pathway now for sustainable green chemicals.
Wow, that is fascinating. So congratulations. I'm sad I asked about the company because then I get completely distracted because I like the chemical part of it. Let's get back to you as a person because otherwise I'm going to, and I have a ton of introductions to make. But okay, let's get back to you as a person. If you were, I mean, given you very unpredictable pathway, let me just put it that way. If you were to write a note to yourself 20 years earlier, I never know how to say that in English, 20 years from now, earlier, what would be the most important message that you would tell yourself? What did you learn in 20 years?
Yeah, so that was me. I'm 36 now, so
You're 17.
17, 16, 17.
Yeah.
I was just in that transition phase that I just described with going from, literally abject poverty to a school where the parking lot looked like an Audi dealership, right? And I would tell myself that things will play out the way you want, but they are going to be as hard as you think they are. And the time scale, I think, can feel very daunting to hit the dreams that you want. And you can't predict things like geopolitical uncertainties or how fast the public attention will change, but you still have to have your own personal conviction. So I think to that effect, I think one of the key things that I have learned that is so important and powerful is how storytelling can open up opportunities. Storytelling helps from that regard, I think, relate how an essential chemical with a name you can barely pronounce helps us cook, eat, and drink, right? And one thing that we're learning as we're getting Mars more out there, and I'm learning this myself, is I think they're now calling it the attention economy. That is a new form of currency that we live in today. And there's so much going on. So you have to really be able to tell a story that's credible, consistent, and I think targeted at the audience that you want it. And what I learned on the Hill that I think would have been helpful for me 16, 17 is really understanding my audience better. Understanding who my existing supporters are, prospective ones, customers, investors, partners, and really being specific when we're talking to them. And I think that helps to just accelerate so many things.
It's really interesting. I never thought about that, but That's why we have these podcasts, because I learned so much. Um, One thing to wrap it up, you know, when when I was 13, this is my last question always. When I was 13, I fell off a horse and I was in coma, so I died, but I didn't die completely. And I remember looking at myself thinking, oh gosh, I died. I remember thinking I never had a boyfriend. That was my first thing. How could that happen? And I at 13, I knew I wanted to be a scientist. And then I became a scientist. And I'm like, oh, there's so much I needed to learn and so much I wanted to do. And then I woke up from coma.
Mm.
And of course, you don't know how long it passed. But then I realized that life is a gift and it can stop at any time. And then my wrap up question is, who are you going to be when you're no longer here? Who's Aaron?
Wow. Okay. You really went uh, metaphysical here. I love it. And I think your audience is going to get to know me a little more than I.
Well, we know about Lake Tahoe.
Well, I would say I agree with you that I personally have always just had a deep appreciation for life. I don't think every person has that deep down, and the folks who do, I feel like they're so fortunate. I feel so lucky. I think about what it means for me to be lucky. I was born in this time in humanity's journey, very lucky, right?
Yeah.
Black man, even a century ago, it's not the right place for me. I wouldn't have had all these opportunities. Lucky to be born in this country where I can fail and get another shot, and really lucky to know what love is from family, partners, friends. So all of that I take and I manifest to like help solve my daily blockers. So that's one piece of it. But to really get, I think, to your question, which I think is metaphysical. So there's kind of two elements to it. There's the material level. And I think there's just something super incredible, and I'm kind of thinking off the top of my head about like my body eventually returning to Earth, right? In a time, it's not going to be in, it's going to return like, in a realistic time frame for me, but then over time, in an area that I can't comprehend, the Earth and our solar system will all become part of this greater whole. And this happens to everything. But then you have something else, which is, there's man and nature, but then there's what is like the man and man kind of relationship. And I mean that not gendered. So there's this other relationship. And just to kind of, again, spitballing off the top of my head, I do think about this. It's the mirror that I have for myself that I show up to the world. And it's the presence, the work, my ideas that I put out, the derivatives that they create, and their permanency. And in that regard, I think about like legacy, Mars and the impact it's going to have and the ripple effects it's going to have, and how I hope that it becomes a symbol of innovation in the US and around the world. And frankly, from Earth to Mars, right? I also think about this in terms of others who might be overlooked, who find my message and it inspires them to step out and to create new wonderful systems and ideas that you just can't conceive of today. I think about this in regards to more practical things, regulatory boundaries, really holding back commercially viable like applications for market-based solutions to climate change. And I guess more generally, I just want my actions and to help make it easier for other entrepreneurs, other folks who are doing the hard things to make it easier for them. So those outcomes and how those ripple, I think, is a form of like my metaphysical, like the non-embodiment piece of my consciousness, kind of like a meme. This would be the best way I would say it. And then so that's like the professional side of that consciousness, but the other side of it too is like how my family sees me and how my friends see me, and that's a completely different side, and those also ripple and have other impacts. So I don't know if that resonates, but that's how I look at that question and think about it on a day to day.
Thank you so much. That's an interesting question. And it makes people think beyond their business. So that's why I like to ask that question. And for me, it's very relevant because I live that. But
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has to purposely go through coma to realize, oh my gosh, we have the gift that is life. But it was pretty cool, and it makes a good story. Plus, I have two more, but that's a good one. That's on the top list. Aaron, thank you so much for being with us. I've learned so much. I'm gonna go back to storytelling because I'm not very good at that. I am good at that because I grew up in the tropics, but I don't work on that much. But it was delightful to have you here. And I hope our guests enjoy the conversation.
Thank you very much for having me, Alicia. I am so looking forward to following this podcast now and continuing on your journey as you're working to improve your storytelling and how you share stories with the world. It's very exciting.
It's kind of embarrassing.
No, not at all. I think I firmly believe that we can learn new things every day and always improve, even the prose practice.
Of course, of course. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I was really impressed by Aaron and his very focused energy, which is something that we all need when we start a company, and the approach to being very efficient with carbon, which is a huge issue for our generation and the next generations to come. So I'm happy that they're working on the solutions. And I hope you enjoy this podcast. Um, very fortunate to be able to have him as a guest and very fortunate to be able to live the life that we live. So that was my take on that, on this conversation. Yours in Wealthy, Alicia Castillo Holley. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.